Hi, I'm Izzy Barrett. I'm the Artistic Director of the National Youth Jazz Collective. Welcome to our hashtag National Youth Jazz Wednesday, our weekly get together with key members of the jazz scene, whether it's musicians, educators, young musicians, promoters. Last week we had record label. So we've got some very exciting guests, some real key members of the family, which I'm very excited about having the opportunity to talk today. But before we do welcome our guests, I was wondering, Nick, whether you might come on and say hello to everybody and let us know, how did the first weekend of auditions go? We're there, we're out.
We're out, yes, after so much planning and so much thinking, and 3 times lucky to get this audition tour on the road. We're actually there, and we are one day out of 13 done. And we were really pleased with how it went. Obviously, we've got a lot of COVID kind of protocols in situ to keep everybody safe. But we were absolutely thrilled, and it was so good. I mean, I'm the other side of the audition room, but just to hear young musicians playing again, we were thrilled. So can't wait for the next 12 dates, should I say, rather than 12 days of meeting more young musicians around the country.
It was so moving to hear them play and meet them, and also, you know, the jazz pianist that was accompanying them. It's the first time that Tom has played live with some musicians for quite some time, so there was a lot of emotion there, and that the joy and the release, and I think the young people themselves have been so brave all year, and you could tell from the way they were talking, you know, they were so glad to finally be sonically making sound and relating to another musician. So it was fabulous, and I'm really excited about the next 12 audition days. And a big thank you to you, Nick, for putting it together such a beautiful, everything felt safe, everything felt really clear, and it gave it space. The music had the space that it needed to just for us to get on with playing and enjoying being musicians. So thank you for that, Nick.
It's been an absolute pleasure. That's been the motto all the way along. We want to take care of that side of things so the young musicians can focus on the music.
So in the meantime, we're preparing for the summer school as well. We've been putting a word out there that we're also looking for a venue to host our 15th birthday, which is next year. So if anyone's got any ideas, we've had a few already sent, but if anyone's got any ideas of really good sort of schools, places who've got accommodation, nice resources, do please message us, because we would just want to get far and wide celebrating our 15th birthday. And also I've had quite a productive time talking about our teaching videos, which we're very excited about. We're looking forward to launching those in September, and Music Mark has been key to that, and also now the Institute of Education as well. So between us, we've got a lot done in a very short amount of time. Now, talking of getting a lot done in a very short amount of time and being really inspirational, I'm going to welcome our guest for today, because he's such a key member of the not just the UK jazz scene, but the international jazz scene, and has been a very dear friend of mine for many years, and I've really benefited from that friendship hugely. So please welcome to the stage Julian Joseph. Might we get Nick, might you give Julian a hand with the video? I don't know if he needs help.
Yeah, it seems not to be triggering. Host asked you to start your video.
Hey, okay. Julian!
Wow, talk about making an entrance. My goodness, I was pressing the button, Izzy. I promise you. After that lovely introduction, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here, and also to celebrate our friendship, as well as the wonderful wonderfulness about jazz.
Absolutely. Now, this wonderfulness about jazz, I'd really like for people that are not familiar with your work and all your different involvements in music making, I wondered if you might introduce yourself. How do you introduce yourself when you say who Julian Joseph is?
Well, usually I try to keep it simple and just say I'm a pianist and composer, but of course, well, I don't say of course for those who aren't familiar with the fact that I'm a broadcaster for the BBC on Radio 3, and you know, I've also got my own jazz academy, the Julian Joseph Jazz Academy. In 2018, I released my first book. So there are many strings to this bow that we call jazz, and I found myself involved in all of them. And it's great because, like anything, opportunity begets opportunity. You do something and it might trigger something else. And then you have the decision as to whether you want to make it another part of your art and your expression and what you do. So that's probably how I'd introduce myself. Hope that's thorough enough.
That's marvelous. And I'm just going to add to it, if I may, within the realms of composition, you know, we were talking about ballet and opera, as well as oratorios, and as well as quartets and trios and big bands. So, you know, when we use the word jazz, often people start to just see us in quite a limited way in what our scope as a composer is. And yours is huge. It's global. It's huge. And it's very cross genre as well.
Yes. Well, it's a universe, isn't it? Being a composer yourself, you know, composition is the universe. And I think as a composer, and I'm sure you'll share in my feeling about this, we have an opportunity there to expand the universe of our thinking. And that sometimes can take jazz with it. It can sometimes put us in different musical arenas, but it's something that I find is incredibly stimulating and self-perpetuating.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing that we've got in common there as well is that it's that approach to music making that also feeds into all the educational work we do, and that how we bring together people, and that we're very mindful of who the individuals are, so that everything is we're sort of facilitators, making it the opportunities for the young personalities that we meet, and seeing how we can strengthen them as musicians, but also support their dreams and aspirations as well, so that they're in the driving seat, definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, the discussion often comes up, and whether I'm speaking to James, my brother, or to, you know, Byron Wallen, Trevor Watkis, Alex French, or Tony Kofi, we always talk about, you know, this area that we inhabit called as educators, but often it really comes down to the fact that we're guides. We're guides to help the journey of each individual musician, because really, I always say that jazz is a music of initiative, and that ultimately it's when the musician, the individual, takes the initiative for their own learning, that things start to happen, things start to change. And so we're guides along that journey, and hopefully it's a never-ending journey. And it's wonderful because we get many of our former students returning to either partake with us, or just to come and share things with us. And you'll see that Jazz Kaiser will be sharing in this discussion with us, as well as some of our current students, Melanie Claffey, and of course James Wade Sarid. So it's a wonderful, gratifying feeling to work with such talented young people who want to return and still feel the vibes.
And I think also the reason that it's such a natural relationship for jazz musicians to have with the younger generation is because it's an ongoing journey, as you say, and we're on that journey ourselves. And
absolutely.
So we're all teaching each other.
Absolutely. No, the learning never stops. And someone comes along who just makes you think, oh my goodness, yeah, they're killing now. And the first temptation, the first ideal that any of us want to do is have them in our band.
So you've just mentioned James, and I think it would be wonderful now to invite James to join us, because James is a trustee of NYJC, as well as being a very, are you calling him the CEO of JJJA? What do you call him?
He's the everything O.
The everything O. So James, you're really well placed to see why that relationship between NYJC and JJJA is so authentic, and why it really works. And I wondered if you, before introducing us to what JJJA is all about, might you comment a little bit on the way that the two organisations work together?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's not a problem. The way that JJJA works with NYJC is very simple, you know, because we're all coming from the same roots. And we all have the same belief system, and also the same beliefs in jazz. And one of the ways that we always encourage our students to in furthering their learning is to use the NYJC summer school. So, you know, if there are any prospective students out there that want to enter the NYJC summer school, you know, apply now. Well, I mean, the auditions are going on right now, but you should get on board because it's a really good program, and it's a way of finding other people nationally that have the same sort of things that you're getting from your programs. With JJJA, because we work so closely with NYJC, you know, it's a natural fit. It's a natural fit. And so, you know, we work hard, you know, week after week doing what we do. Not that NYJC only work on the summer school, because they do things throughout the year as well. But you know, it's a good touch point for the variety of learning within JJJA. So that's what I would say. That's how they work very well together.
And we always love coming to your performance as well. Very much looking forward to coming to the end of year performances. I must get the date in my diary.
Yeah, as soon as we have the date, when we have the date, we'll let you know.
It's in July.
Julian and James, I'm wondering whether you might introduce to everybody what JJJ is, sort of how often it meets and what the activity involves, and more importantly as well, how did it come to be?
Okay, so I have been, you mentioned that I write opera as part of my compositional palette. So I wrote an opera for HMDT Music, which is run by Adam Eisenberg and Tertia Sefton Green. And Adam said, when we were talking, we speak a lot, they're very close friends of ours. And he said, Julian, were you serious when you said you want to start your own academy? And is that really something you want to do? Is that ambition? Are you ready to start it? And I was like, yeah, anytime. And he said, okay, let's go for it. So in 2013, we pushed the button and it began. And so we created all kinds of processes that we envisaged working when we got into it. And needless to say, all of that didn't necessarily get scrapped, but it got completely altered and changed. The reality of running a school is a very different prospect to thinking about it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So I know you're aware of that big time.
Right.
So then we had to build in certain kinds of processes and targets, and actually think what it is we wanted to do. So mostly, in a nutshell, I would say that we want every student to develop their ears, because every program develops the eyes. So meaning reading is usually paramount in any program. And so the reality of jazz is that the ears are actually paramount, but also reading is just as important. So we really wanted to focus on the hearing part. We wanted to focus on repertoire, and we wanted to focus on developing rhythm sections, and we wanted to focus on building specific techniques and processes for developing soloing, melodic soloing that comes directly from the history of the music. So our ultimate goal, if I can put it in a nutshell, is that every student that comes through us will develop their own process for learning. That means that wherever they are, they're not distracted by the amount of work they have to do. And also it means that they will know something about every period of jazz, from Louis Armstrong and Jelly Roll Morton, through the stride geniuses, to Benny Goodman, to Charlie Parker and all the bebop guys, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, Charles Mingus, Thelonious Monk, Ornette Coleman, Herbie Hancock, McCoy Tyner, John Coltrane, and Weather Report, and even contemporary guys like Wynton and people on the British scene. So really, we just wanted to cover the history of the music, mostly the root of it from America, the great players, Art Blakey, etc., and build that repertoire and that familiarity so that they go into either the next stage of their learning in college or out there in the world, knowing something about every period, major period in jazz,
Mhm.
so that that's not something that is strange to them, and that they're going in with their eyes wide open and with a process that can make them better and better.
And what's great about that is that it means that they are also able to engage with it personally about what they find is moving them and what they particularly want to start to develop in their own voice as well, because they've had that opportunity to connect with so much of the music.
Sure. I mean, the main thing is to learn to love the music.
Yeah.
So, you know, Louis Armstrong, John Coltrane, you know, these aren't going to be strange names to them. You know, if you talk about Art Taylor or Jimmy Merritt or Butch Warren, you know, they're going to be like, oh yeah, he was on that record with Dexter, and so that's really that kind of knowledge and that kind of appreciation for the music, and so that wherever they go, the love of jazz is core, and not only the love of jazz, but the knowledge of jazz, and how it also spreads into other areas of music, you know, even into other countries, including our own, but primarily Black American jazz.
So 8 years on, James, how have you
Well,
seen
yeah.
that blossom?
Yeah, no, we've definitely blossomed in our numbers. But another reason why we started it is that you know, Julian will be asked to go into the conservatoires, you know, and also go to conservatoires all over the world to do education projects and master classes and workshops. And often we would associate a master class and a workshop with Julian's concerts that he would do around the world as well.
Mhm.
And one thing that Julian noticed when we would do these things is that when young jazz musicians that were going to conservatoires, they weren't jazz ready.
Yeah.
You know, so we you know, identified that need, that, you know, we needed to create a place where we would train these young people to be jazz ready, so when they would go to college, they could really start to fly, you know, because they would have all the things that Julian was just mentioning. They would firstly have a love of jazz, you know, and also an appreciation for, you know, if you had a classical student going to study in a conservatoire, they'd know Brahms and Mendelssohn and various things, you know, and so the students, the jazz students would also, you know, if they come from JJJ or NYJC, they will have those they will have those touch points to go on, you know. So yeah, going back, yeah, we've flourished. We've every year we you know, we bring in many, and the people don't seem to want to leave, so that's great. And so our numbers are swelling, but you know, we really treasure all of the people that come, and we run it like a family, you know. So we're, you know, once you come into our auspices, then you're part of that JJJA family, and when we try to do that and guide the students in the same way a family would, you know.
The nice thing about that, which you're experiencing 8 years on, and as you've seen at NYJC, is that as the family grows, then they come back and start to work with the young musicians, and that's fantastic to see that.
Well, the thing is, you know, we have a lot of learning just within the academy, where students teach other students, you know. And, you know, it's an ethos that we engaged in from the beginning. So if one student knows something, then they would teach the other student, you know. And, you know, that actually gives them a skill to communicate as well. It gives them other skills as well as, you know, the skill of being able to impart the knowledge, you know. So it's been great. It's really good, and it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun every week. You know, we have a lot of fun, and, you know, we have other faculty members like Trevor Watkis, Byron Wallen, the great trumpeter, and Tony Kofi, the great saxophonist, you know, and Alex, you'll meet him a little later. And also, you know, we have other musicians and other people who come in now and then to help out. And or if somebody comes into town, like if Branford comes, or Dave Holland, or anyone comes into town, they pop by the academy and just, you know, share, you know, roll their sleeves up and off they go. So, you know, we have a blast, you know, every Saturday. what's our times? It's between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock at
Yeah.
Bridge Academy. You know, every Saturday.
And it's great that you've just explained this, how often you meet and the timings of it all, because there's somebody that's keeping everybody on track with all of that. And I think it would be good to bring Alex up to the stage. Might you introduce him, Julian? Who is
Yeah.
Alex? What's his role?
Certainly, Alex is one of our tutors. He teaches our essentials class, but he also teaches for HMDT music and teaches their blues class. So often when we have auditions, if people aren't quite ready for our essentials class, he will take them in blues and progress them until they're able to come into essentials. But Alex, so Alex not only, is on the ground teaching them, through the ethos of JJJA, but he's also our main coordinator. Even if that isn't necessarily his primary role, we all rely on him to coordinate and administrate things directly. He's our first point of contact. So he's invaluable. He came in very green, not really knowing how we do things. And believe me, he's taken to our processes like a duck to water. So this is Alex Thomas French. Welcome, my brother.
Hey, Jules. Good to see you. Good to be
Good
here.
to see you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Lovely to see you.
Likewise. Very much glad to be here,
So how did it feel going from that greenness to now being such an integral part of the whole process?
Good question.
A great journey.
Incredible. I mean, and what better mentor to have than Julian? And, very quickly you realise, I studied jazz, prior to it, but I quite quickly realised I didn't know what I needed to know. So I was very lucky to be at the right place in the right time and to, just learn how to do it, learn how to use your ears. It's just a wonderful place to be, being given this set repertoire, these listening lists being set by Julian and Trevor Watkis. Really, every term or a couple of times a year, he puts out these incredible lists of repertoire that we all study. So, from the off, I was given like a list of great tunes to choose and to teach. And it's, just every year. And as the numbers have gotten more, it's been incredible, meeting all of these students. We've got such a great range of students now. We've got so many groups. We've got a group of Trinity students. We've got a group, some young lions who just come up in this last term. We've got like this 9-year-old, couple of years, and they're playing like Coltrane and like Fats Navarro, and we got a group of those cats, which is just crazy. And then we've also got, some people who are year 11, year 13, conservatoire, getting ready for conservatoire kind of level, and, really serious players. And then you got, the people I mainly concern myself with, which is all the people before that. And that's, that's my place really. And that's what I love, really inspiring and kind of helping the young people coming up and learning how to appreciate the music, as both Julian and James are talking about. It's very much about appreciating the music. And I've got a great, really green trombone player and a flute player at the moment, and we're doing Moanin', and then we're learning the Lee Morgan solo of Moanin', and they just love it. We're learning about all the history. They know it's 1958, Blue Note, Art Blakey, and all this stuff, and it's just lovely. And needless to say, and to answer your question, I've learned so much. I'm a completely different educator, and player and person because of the process, and
Great. Well, what I'm wondering from that, you hit on a very important word, which we all know. Every time anybody uses this word, we'll go, yeah, absolutely. But a lot of time, people who don't do much jazz and certainly aren't teaching it, don't realize the significance of this word. You use the word listening.
Hey!
And it's such an important part of what we all do. I think that's one of the things that both of the organisations have got in common, the need to listen in order to then learn. So Julian, we're going to listen to an extract in a moment, Chick's Tune, and I wondered if you might just explain a little bit about how you asked the young musicians to learn this piece, and so what would have gone on independently and then what they would have brought back to the session for you then all to work on.
Okay, so we over lockdown were working in various different ways, and we had developed something called line sharing, where every musician would bring a line to the table and teach it to everybody over the online Zoom session. And so we built up a bank of, I don't know, 50 or 60 lines between us. And then we progressed it to learning a Charlie Parker performance of, his classic performance of, which tune was it? Just Friends in with strings, which I know you're familiar with. And so everybody learned his solo, his way of playing the melody from start to finish, including the whole arrangement. And then we moved up. Then Chick's shocked the whole jazz world by passing away. And so I thought as a tribute, we'd go back to one of Chick's earliest recordings with Blue Mitchell from the album The Thing to Do, and a piece that Chick wrote called Chick's Tune. And it's based on the changes of You Stepped Out of a Dream. So I asked every musician to learn that tune. So we learned it together as we had line shared. We learned the melody. We'd figured out the chord changes in the first session. We've sorted out the melody, and then we worked on Chick's solo, Junior Cook's solo. We also worked on Blue Mitchell's solo, and we worked on the drum solo. So they would have to verbalize, they'd have to sing it. So we worked on all of that, and then we performed it and put it together. And so what you'll find is that you'll hear Chick solo, you'll hear Chick solo, and you'll hear, and some fragments of the other solos. James Wade Syred plays all the solos. And I think, does anybody play their own solo? I think only Ruben plays his own solo, and Simon plays his own drumming thing, although he plays Al Foster's drum introduction, and he plays the riff going out.
So what I'd like to do is we're going to listen to that in a few seconds, and then invite the young musicians that are with us that played on it to talk about that process. We're only going to play the first sort of 3.5 minutes so that you can then describe to us exactly what it is that we were listening to there, because I think sometimes when people haven't got the notated, they're not sure what's been generated by others and what's been generated by the players. So it'd be really nice just for us to really pin down what they heard and then are playing. That'd be brilliant. So it's all in about 3.5 minutes. Over to you, Nick. I think you're going to press play. We'll be back in a few minutes. Can't wait. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
Wow, hey.
I would have been high as a kite if I was playing that with a group of people.
Yeah, well, what you heard there was them playing the drum introduction and then going on to the melody. And then you heard the entire Chick Corea solo played by everybody. And then they were just going into the Junior Cook tenor saxophone solo that was being played by Mikey on trumpet and James Wade Syed on trombone. And yeah, that's just, you know, some people may say, well, you know, how is it jazz if they're just playing something that other people are playing? Well, there are several processes to jazz. One is to understand the material so that you can make up the stuff that you want to play and understand how it is to play a logical solo that has some spirit, some interest, and some melodic difference, and great variation. So it's about building vocabulary of lines, but also it's about inhabiting the space like a master. So when you inhabit that space, you gain strength from it. You understand what kind of technique you need, what kind of ideas you need, and you also learn to operate at that level so that your mind can be free to flourish with ideas. Because if the worst thing is if you're struggling at that tempo, playing through those changes and you have no idea what to play. But if you have something that's a template, we learn what chord changes are, and so we play through those. So why not play through the solo, understand the arena, the area that you're inhabiting, and then when you're making up stuff and you're soloing yourself, it gives you the impetus and the mental freedom and agility to operate creatively in that space.
And I think what you've just said there about operating creatively, that's really fundamental to the way that we are playing music. It's generative music. We're not, like we say, reading off a sheet. And you would never expect a young person to suddenly stand up in front of a load of people and tell a really long story for the first time they've ever stood up in public, making a story up. You know, where there are ways of gradually building up their vocabulary, and it's the same as jazz musicians that we're gradually building up. And as composers, we weren't in a vacuum and then suddenly we started to write. We've had people that have influenced us. So with all of that in mind, I'm wondering whether we might first of all welcome James and Menelik to the stage and hear from them both about how that process has got them to where they now are as young jazz musicians. And then after that, we'll bring jazz up as well. So hello, James, and hello, Menelik. I think you're both at Trinity College.
Hey.
One of the
Yeah, we're both there right now. So yeah, no, we definitely like by doing that process, it really helps just everything about your playing, and I also just doing that work, like, I don't know, you just get a different kind of understanding about jazz, and I mean, yeah, it's hard to put into words, but it's just a case of like you have to try it out to understand like the majority of what it's about. yeah.
I think one of the things that a lot of people are surprised about when they come on the summer school is the actual physical stamina that you need in order to play the music. And this process is sort of helping not just within the musical content, but making everybody feel match fit and physically strong and able to play, keeping the agility of the ears and listening to what's going on around you, because you've been doing that as you were learning the music. So now within the context of a band, your ears are always open to what's going on around. I'm wondering, Menelik, because at the moment it might look to people watching that the process is very sort of top line focused, but this is also, I'm sure, been really informative to you as a bass player. I'm wondering if you might talk about a bit about this, listening to recordings and taking things down as a bass player.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the most important thing that any musician should be doing, because it allows you to like internalize the music and really like understand your role in relation to all the other instruments. Because if you know what the sax player is playing along with what the bass player is playing, you now have that understanding of the relationship between the two, you know. And I think that's like one of the key things about transcribing is like you inhabit the world that the music's in, you know.
It's a little bit like invisible counterpoint. If it was a classical thing, we'd have a score there and we'd be able to see, but we're kind of doing it invisibly, orally, hearing that engagement. Is there much about what's going on in the bass, James, that it makes you consider the way that you are playing as a trombonist?
Well, I mean, it's good to listen to all the different instruments. But I mean, the role of the bass, yeah, is very different to the role of a trombonist, or, I mean, like, or the horn player, as in, I put it into that category. But yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I'm listening to what the whole band is playing, and the bass might play something that sticks out, and you can respond to that. So it's a very like, yeah, I mean, it's all in the moment there. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I do.
It in the moment, and that ability to grab hold of it, because you've developed your ears and your ear instrument relationship is so heightened that then you're able to grab hold of ideas as they come by, as well as stimulate ideas as well. Do the two of you play together much now, carrying on?
Yeah.
In what sort of context both playing? Might you tell us both all about what the two of you are up to at the moment creatively? Because I think you're in second year, or which year?
Yeah, second year. Yeah.
So tell us about what you're doing musically as second years at Trinity, both from your own ideas as well as what's going on in the course.
Sure. I mean, we're playing a lot together anyway, just general jams and stuff at college. And I mean, we write a few originals, and if we want to try them out, then we'll probably come together and yeah, I mean, that's what we're up to together. But I don't know what you're up to at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good question.
What's igniting you? What's exciting you musically? What are you sort of independent of the course? What are you thinking? I really want to pursue this because I'm going to be carrying on with this into my career.
Well, I don't know. Listening wise, I mean, I'm still listening to a lot of jazz. Just going through different players. Just thinking about it a lot as well. I mean, it's been a bit tough at the moment, just because it's a bit of like a limbo between the two, like between going back to normal and then the full extreme of lockdown. But it's just about staying inspired. So there's not a lot going on at the moment, but there's a few things planned in the future. But yeah, it's just a case of staying sane. Really.
It's a great choice of instruments as well, trombone and bass. You could be quite independent. I could imagine you in a couple of years' time, when all this COVID stuff has settled down, backpacking around Europe as a duo, frantically playing everything and everywhere and just taking the place by storm.
Of course, yeah. That's what's planned.
Brilliant. So Julian, how does it feel watching the young musicians blossoming and grow and now taking the scene by storm?
Well, I'm very proud of these guys. James, you were talking about his ear to hand instinct. That his instincts are so highly developed that, you just put on a tune and he can just play along with it. And, you know, it's almost his awareness of changes and chords has become, you know, almost instantaneously instinctual, and that's really the goal. But he worked so hard to achieve that, and the same with Menelik. And Menelik, I mean, Menelik's been coming to us since he was 10 years old, and he, you know, he had a tiny bass and he was little, but he was always profound when he spoke about jazz. He's been listening hard, and the fruits of his love for the music are coming through. His technique is formidable, and his energy when he plays, and the kind of virtuosity he exhibits, not only digitally as he's playing, but, you know, in terms of his ideas, you know, is really starting to come to the fore. So these two guys are really two people that the entire JJJ is really, really proud of, and me in particular. I love these guys. And, you know, also Jazz Kaiser, she's somebody who's been really, really inspirational since going to Berklee, since returning, the kind of output. I've had her on my show several times, you know, and she always comes back to JJJA. She just mucks in, plays with everyone, you know, loves it, brings a great vibe. We were learning some South African music. We were learning Becky Mseleko's music.
Oh, great.
And we were talking about all kinds of ideas in terms of learning the tune and combining different kinds of rhythms. And she just went straight on it and combined this different rhythm, you know, that got out of sync in certain places, but it went out of sync musically in sync. You know what I mean? Where it wasn't mathematically set, because all the bars changed time signatures, but she could keep a consistent time with all of that going. And it just shows you that at JJJ, with all the stuff that we learned that is rote, there is so much room for initiative and developing your own ideas. And jazz is a huge exemplar of that, other than being just one of the most swinging and creative young musicians that we have the pleasure of knowing. So
let's bring it to the stage. Shall we welcome Jazz? Come and join us.
Come on, Jazz. Come and speak on it, girl.
Hello, hello, hello. Have we got a similar thing of struggling to get?
Oh
this-
yeah,
Coming, there
had that
she is.
same
Hey,
situation.
brilliant.
I was pressing it. I was pressing.
That's what I was doing, Jazz.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
had the same problem.
You know what?
Yeah.
Zoom's not designed for the jazz press. That's what I think.
Exactly.
So, Jazz, you came and did the summer school, and we've also done the Creative Leadership Ensemble. So we've got a lovely history, and we were introduced to you by JJJA. And you also went to the Purcell School of, I think, was it just for A level that went to the Purcell?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you went off to Berklee, and wondering if you might tell everybody a bit about that experience, why Berklee and how it was when you were over there, because it's something that very few of the young musicians know about.
Yeah, I feel very lucky to be able to have that experience. It's definitely like one of those dreams, especially if you're learning jazz music, to go to like the birthplace of it. And
how did you hear about Berklee? Who introduced you to the idea?
it's through JJA. I mean, Julian went to Berklee, Tony Kofi went to Berklee,
And
Trevor
Trevor.
Watkins, Trevor too, yeah. And that's just like, oh wow, that sounds killing. I'd love
So
to do
what
that.
happened when you got there? What did you find? What was Berklee?
Definitely very overwhelming. Chatted to Julian about leaving your home country and going abroad, and kind of obviously speak the same language, but there was still sort of like a culture shock, definitely. But it's just
Absolutely.
like mesmerizing. It's like Disneyland of music. It's unbelievable to be in Boston and like everyone around you doing what you want to do. You go to Wally's Jazz Club and you hear the most swinging stuff you've ever heard in your life. It's so like intimidating and daunting, but at the same time inspiring, and just makes you want to like get it together. And the teachers there are just incredible, like Ralph Peterson and Tolin Carrington, Tia Fuller. Like had some emotional classes that have been really difficult,
Oh,
but
wow.
they just like that tough love, you know, because they care and because they want you to develop, and they know that's why you're there. So
Just one quick technical thing. I think because your microphone is rubbing against your zip, we're getting quite a lot of slang. So
I'll
that's
hold
brilliant.
it. Cheers.
It's the most musical clang that I've ever heard, though, I have to say.
In rhythm, it's swinging in the background.
So when you were there, were there things that you found about the approach to sort of rhythm section playing and ensemble playing that were new to you? And was there a particular interest after leaving Berkeley that you thought, I want to pursue this further?
Yeah, oh my God, so many things, to be fair. And I think, yeah, swinging is the main thing. JJ, James has given me the drum tips. I remember back in JJ and just kind of having that realization of like, oh, this just needs to swing, like, especially from a drummer's perspective, you know, it's just to carry the groove, carry the feel, carry the energy. And that's what I noticed over in Boston, in the American scene. It really is like the feel and the energy you get from the music. That's something that was like, wow, how are they doing that? And obviously everything else was incredible too, but that was noticeable. But yeah, I got quite into, also was working with Danilo Perez a lot, and he kind of like enlightened my life in a sense, like that, you know, music for social change and things like that. So kind of was like, oh, what, like, why do you play music? What do you want to do in the future? And that definitely changed my life too, because I didn't really get it at first. I was like, what do you mean? Like, we just play music, we go to gigs, we hang out. He's like, yeah, but there could be a deeper meaning to that. You know, what do you want to do with it? Do you realize how much this impacts people and politics and social situations and all of that? So I think that's what I took away from Berkeley, and then obviously got really into like Afrobeat, and we had the African diaspora class was like compulsory for everybody at Berkeley, which was incredible. No matter what you were studying, music business, pop music, recording engineering, jazz, everyone had to go through the history of the music way back into Africa, and talked a lot about the movement over to America and the civil rights movement and all of that. It's like just one big history lesson the whole time. So becoming aware of that even more, so away from just jazz music and just historically, that was like, wow, music really is like a big force and really is relevant and important. So yeah, just trying to keep doing
big
it.
Impact. You've come on, it's really going to influence you forever. There's no turning back and changing the clock.
Yeah, exactly. We're in it. It is what it is.
I'm wondering whether we might just take a slight break to listen to another video and talk about the music. But before we do that, there is a way of hearing more about you on the radio catch up, isn't there? Because yesterday you were on Radio 2. Might you tell us a little bit about?
Oh, it's frozen. Is that me or is it? Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, catch it on Radio 2.
Yeah, on the Jamie Cullum show. Come on, say it, girl, say it.
On the Jamie Cullum show, Radio 2 last night. Yeah, that was like really an incredible experience to have. I feel lucky to be part of that, and was just doing the Take 5 session, which is like up and coming jazz artists in London. And you have about 10 minutes and you just chat about what you're up to and the music that inspires you, and kind of chose a few tunes, played one of my tunes, and then yeah, it's like a little 10 to 15 minute feature on Radio 2.
And there's also, and she's also featured on Radio 3 in the Cheltenham Jazz Festival. On and you can listen again if you want to hear jazz and her wonderful group performing for the Cheltenham Jazz Festival, which was all online over the bank holiday weekend in May. So that's still available on Radio 3. So this young woman is lighting up the world right now on Radio 2 and Radio 3, and live in all directions. And I'm sure many online concerts, because I've watched so many myself and really just enjoyed it. And in fact, yes, you can still see your concert at Ronnie Scott's, can't you, with your cats and Ava joining you?
Yes, big up Ava. Yeah, I think that's still on YouTube now.
Yeah.
And then with Jazz Refreshed as well, you've been doing a few broadcasts with them.
Yeah, they did an online festival last year during the lockdown. I think there's like 1 or 2 tunes still up on YouTube to watch that as well.
So we'll find all those links and we'll put them up. James?
Yeah, And you're being featured on Operation Forest that's coming out on the 16th, on Sunday.
That's
You know,
right.
so that's on it's a concert that was put together by Ava Joseph, my daughter, and Carla Flores, which is Operation Forest is a sort of an acronym for the struggle. And so they've put together a load of tunes that's, you know, and I've seen it and it's great. You know, so if anyone's watching, tune into the the World Heartbeat Music Academy channel on YouTube on Sunday at 7 o'clock, and be prepared to be amazed.
Some
Yeah.
special surprises in
Yeah.
there.
Oh, there
Most
is.
definitely.
There's lots of surprises.
So Jazz is a very ubiquitous musician right now. She is everywhere, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Can't get enough of you.
Yeah.
Choice of word, ubiquitous. It's bang on. How does it feel to be ubiquitous?
How does it feel? Oh my God, incredible. Yeah, I'm very grateful to have these opportunities and to be playing, and very thankful for JJ and NYJC, really. Yeah, it's quite
But
special.
at the end of the day, it's all down to you and all the work you've put in and your commitment to the music. That's what's, you know, you've made good use of those opportunities, but boy, oh boy, have you really applied yourself and worked hard. And we've known you from such a young age, and you've always had that focus and that drive and that wonderful, quiet self-belief and inquisitiveness. You're very inquisitive, which is all the great ingredients for a long career in the music, and not just a career in the music, but actually being a big influence on the scene as well. So I'm really excited about, you know, watching and being part of wherever we all can be of your future. So thank you as well.
Oh, thank you, Izzy. Thanks, guys. Legends.
And thanks for
Love
playing
you all.
drums percussion on Interchange's album as well.
That's right. Represent.
So might you
That's
tell us
right.
about the second video? It would be really lovely, and it'd be lovely, Jazz, if you stuck around to give a bit of feedback on, you know, what you make of the process of the young musicians. Because I've had to turn my email off because it keeps pinging, I'm wondering, Nick, if you could remind us what the second video is, please, and what we're about to hear.
Yes, this one is Come Rain, Come Shine, I believe. I'll leave it for someone else to introduce it.
Okay, I'm going to hand over to Alex for this one. Was it your group, Alex, that did this?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Okay, good. Over to you.
This group is really, certainly in my mind, really central to the Academy, the one that did this video. This is what we've got, the JJJA Essentials group. And it's about 20 young cats. Just it's a wonderful group. I'm so proud to be, you know, to lead this group, because they are of all ages. They really help one another, of all different skill sets. You know, people who are in Julian's group go there weekly because it's because everybody is still learning, and it's repertoire with. So this piece is Come Rain, Come Shine. It's from Art Blakey's seminal album, Moaning, the 1958 album. And it really just highlights the process that we've all been talking about of taking down solos. You know, the group learned the melody. I think it's a Harold Arlen tune, but this is a really killing Benny Golson arrangement of it. And they learn the melody, and then I think you'll hear the Bobby Timmons piano solo, which a number of the students took down all through lockdown. And then I think, I mean, I'm not sure when you'll cut it, but after that, then there's the Benny Golson actual tenor solo, which is just crazy, and a couple of really talented students, you know, played some of that. And then if you then carried on, someone took down the Jimmy Merritt's bass solo, and there was also the Lee Morgan solo, actually. So the whole track is there. I don't think you'll probably hear all of it, but yeah, but that's the Essentials group, which really, you've got some students which are kind of just starting. You know, you don't want to use grades, do you? But you know, they've been playing for a few years, but you know, just starting to like learn what jazz is, and you know, learning from everyone else. You know, the more experienced of them. So there you go. Come rain or come shine.
Great, take it away.
Thank
Wow,
Alexa.
there's some
That's Alexa.
dexterity going on there.
That's Alexa playing the Benny Golson solo.
Wow, really
Fantastic.
applying herself there and wanting to own it, you know, diligently applying herself till she completely nailed it. I'm wondering, just for a few moments, split seconds, if we might demystify some of the terms as we're talking about the music, because sometimes people aren't quite sure about some of the terminology, and I think it'd be lovely to demystify things like, what's a lick? What do we mean by a lick? And how does that apply to what we've just been listening to?
Would you like me to say what a lick is?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah. A lick is a line that is learnt, often put through the keys. It's really just a jazz phrase that is lifted or learnt by a musician that they utilize, and you can hear it, you know, as a separate entity that is applied into the changes in particular points. It could be on a minor chord, it could be on a dominant chord, or both. So that's a lick.
And I'm wondering, Alex, listening to the pianist there in that video, I was thinking to myself, I'm really fascinated by his comping. And then I thought, if I use that word, I'm wondering if there might be some people who don't really know what that means. So before we talk about the pianist and how the pianist decided on what to play, might you tell us what we mean by comping?
So accompanying, it's creating a bed for the soloist to lie upon. I always say it's it's complementing what is being played by the soloist, and it's playing the changes, which is the harmonic movement which goes underneath and changes alongside the tune, and it's playing, of course, and supporting the soloist.
What I like about the open space of the pianist is that you can see very clearly the voice leading that's going on, because, you know, there's so much width in the harmony. And I'm wondering, was that the decision of the pianist? Is that the voicings that he's bringing to the table, or has he actually taken that off the recording?
It's really interesting you say that, because I'm actually working really hard with him at the moment. He's doing so well, Ed, on piano, on his comping and his voicing skills. Voicing meaning how you spread out a chord, how you kind of voice it on the piano, and it's a conscious choice. But he also very much took down the Bobby Timmons. You know, he knows the process. He's been with us since 2014, I think. You know, and very proud of him. And he's he knows to take down that comping, you know, just as much as we take down the solos. It's obviously, as Menlik said earlier, so very, very important to take down the comping of the records as well, which he very much did, and used that as a base. And in fact, in the head, he played absolutely what Bobby Timmons does. There you go.
On the drum kit, Jazz, I think sometimes people miss the amount of detail that's going on within a drummer's playing, and how the drummer is shaping, almost steering the contours of the rest of the band, the dynamics, you know, anticipating things, and wondering how much that was part of your listening process that informed your own playing at this sort of level, you know, when you were part of JJJA.
I still miss so much. I just miss less than I did maybe 5 years ago, I think, because your ear is developing. But that's something I learned a lot in JJA, because obviously we weren't reading music, so it was all just by ear, and that was definitely overwhelming, because most of the music I'd learned before that was by reading music, doing like the exams on the drums and stuff. So it was a real challenge to hear the drums first, and just thinking about how they're comping on the ride cymbal, because it's not always just ding ding a ding ding a ding. They kind of vary that, and then on the snare drum, the way they're comping, sometimes the snare is in the gaps of the cymbal, sometimes it's with the cymbal, and little details like that, and it can change the whole like drive of the drums depending on how you want to play. But it's definitely a challenge to dig your ear deep into that and really hear what they're doing. The little ghost notes on the snares, maybe there'll be two notes, but the first one is a little ghost note and the second one is an accent. Or like Art Blakey's comping on the snare, he presses on the snare, like he leaves his stick on the snare drum when he's doing a shuffle, rather than lifting it off when he's doing like a rim shot, and that gives it that kind of thumpy, like backbeat drive when he's playing. It's so hard to hear that on the record sometimes.
But the nuance, the level of nuance that you're now talking about, you're then taking that forward with you into the here and now of all the jazz experiences that you're involved in, that your alertness, it's heightened your level of alertness and nuance. I'm wondering if you're aware of that as you're playing. Do you ever think consciously about things, or is it very intuitive listening? Do you go to a different place when you're playing, or are you sometimes thinking sort of technically, like, you know, I can tell that someone else's solo is coming up, so I'm going to shape it slightly different to make a bit of variety, or is that all coming much more intuitively?
Who's that? Everyone?
Yeah, when you're playing as a drummer, yeah.
Oh, I think the goal is always to get to that other space, like the spiritual space, but it doesn't always happen, that's for sure. So sometimes, yeah, James.
One of the things that we do, especially with the drummers, and Jazz can attest to this, is that we make them realize that the rhythm, that not the rhythm, but the time doesn't come from them.
Mm-hmm.
The time doesn't come from the drummer. It never does in jazz.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from the bass. And what we try and do with, especially when playing with melody, is to orchestrate around that melody. And a drummer creates textures and orchestrations around the melody to make and enhance and to add to. And so I think that's what Jazz was alluding to when saying that, you know, it was quite daunting, because we did it all by ear, and understanding how, you know, a drummer orchestrates, like Jimmy Cobb or Jeff Tain Watts or whoever, or even Ralph Peterson. You know, they would orchestrate around a tune, and you know, and then when you get to soloing, it's about being sensitive enough to be able to give space to latch on to different things, and how to navigate those changes while the soloist is changing, but keeping the democracy on the bandstand.
Absolutely.
We should also say that Miranda, who you heard playing the drums there, is Jazz's student.
Yes, legend. Miranda's an absolute legend. Yeah.
And so are you. You're inspiring her. So she studies at World Heartbeat Music Academy, and yeah, she's been coming to JJJ for a little bit now, and but Jazz is her drum tutor, her private teacher, and she's learning a lot. I know she's learning a lot, and you know,
she's a dedicated student.
She really is.
So committed to getting it together.
Very smart young woman too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, Julian, earlier on while we were waiting to start the live stream, we were talking also about all the other side of all the other things that make JJJA possible outside of the program and the tutors, and wondered if you might say a few words about that.
Well, yes, we're a big team, and our administration is done by HMDT, and we have a lovely team that work that we liaise with, but also we liaise with through Alex often. I mean, the very important stuff, of course, James takes the helm on that and directs both HMDT in terms of what it is we'd like to do. But it wouldn't be JJJA without them, and without, you know, the input that they have and the help that they give us and the support that we receive. But also, of course, our partnership with you and our partnerships with, you know, with Trinity, because as Trinity have been sending a lot of students to us. I mean, of course, I think most of our students are the jazz lot at Trinity at the moment, but they send a lot of students our way, which we're very happy to receive, and they get a lot out of coming to us. But also we work in partnership with the World Heartbeat Music Academy in Wandsworth, where many of our students get a chance to come play and express themselves in other arenas. But also Byron, Tony and Trevor all teach at World Heartbeat Music Academy, the jazz program there. But it's not just the specifics of the music, it's the administration that it takes to put it together, the funding that happens, the care that is taken, the pastoral care as well of the young people, that every single tutor takes a deep responsibility of that. and you know, so there are many other aspects to running a jazz academy that it goes beyond even the musical side of things, and we're very, very grateful for that. I mean, I know that this is something that is very important in every organization. You could give us chapter and verse about this, I know. So that's just my gratitude. Not that I've really explained it very well, but I'm just expressing gratitude for the fact that it takes more than what you see. There's always things going on in the background, and we acknowledge that fully, because that really makes us work the way we have, and also has allowed us to develop in the way that we feel very positive about. And Jazz would know, because she came from near the beginning of when we started, and she's gone through a journey herself in growing, and she comes back to us regularly, even though she's a superstar now. And you can see the difference. You can see how we've progressed, you know, how we're teaching, what our processes are, you know, what the specifics are, and, you know, just how we're growing our group of musicians. We start every session with a warm-up, and I like to get everybody involved in that, because it just helps to bind us all together. And Jazz came in one week and just gave us a really beautiful warm-up that really worked everybody out, not only physically, but mentally as well. So, you know, we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun, right? So, yeah.
I'm going to invite Nick to join us as we round off this session, because there are two things that I'd like to share with everybody, and particularly want to talk about it now while we're with you, Julian and James and Jazz and Alex. Nick, we've been talking to a lot of people recently across the sector, haven't we? And one of the things that was really striking at one meeting was there was no discussion about the young people.
Oh.
Might you say a few things without, obviously,
without
Justin's house rules, but
yeah.
it really made its mark on you when you went to that meeting, and wondered if you might. I don't want to speak for you, so
yeah, definitely. I think, you know, what are we all doing this for? I think that's we're not doing it for ourselves. Definitely not. It's a complete, like, everyone involved in music education. The goal is for the young musicians to get something out of that, and I think they get so missed out on conversations most of the time, and it's like, but it always has to come back to that, and you know, the enthusiasm that you have to give to them, because you should. It's not a how, it's you know, that they need, and that creating kind of young musicians and into the kind of professional careers, they're the thing that we should not be forgetting about. And you know, it's definitely listening to all this is definitely the JJA method, and it's also the NYJC method, which is why it was so striking to come out of an hour and a half meeting and for that not to have been mentioned once, and that's what we're all here for.
Meanwhile, I was thinking recently, because we're doing quite a lot of advocacy and talking to people, and I was thinking, when we talk about our partners and the partnerships, and you know, they're so authentic and they really work and the music comes alive, I was thinking, why? What is it? How do I capture that? And I just thought it's because we all have a love of the music. And I am also struck by, there are some activities happening out there where there's no love of the music. It's not. So I think the combination of those two is really important when we're working with young jazz musicians and composers and creative people, because they need to feel they're in that safe space where, you know, they've got that opportunity to be themselves, that they are the center of everything that we're doing, and that the music is allowed to be something that moves us so deeply that it's something we all want to share. So I just thought, because the two organizations were together, I think it's really important for us to advocate that generally and say to people, don't be shy about embracing that in what you're doing when you're working with young people. Those are the two main ingredients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's about the young people, and it's about every process that is developed, every environment that is nurtured is about making the environment a jazz productive space for young people, where it's not boring, you know, where it's not boring, where it's, you know, it's really, really stimulating, and where they can do their thing too, where they just get together and just, which they do, you know. Usually by the time when we're finished, they're off. They just like start playing some other stuff that they want to do, and it's great, and it all just happens. But it's about the young people, and you can't really forget that. I find it interesting that they wouldn't be mentioned in an hour and a half meeting that is specifically about them. That's really odd. That's really odd. That needs to be fixed. That needs to be sorted and pulled into line, because you wouldn't have these. We wouldn't exist without them, unless we were just a band. But still, we'd have the youngsters come and play with us. So there's actually no organization, there's no band, there's no music without the fresh blood that people like Jazz and James and Menelik and a whole host of others represent. And the wonderful thing about jazz music and music in general is it's multi-generational, but particularly in jazz, we thrive on the young, the medium, the old, the very old, the very young. It's just something that we all thrive. And as James had put earlier, we run it like a family, a multi-generational family. And you know, we're so fortunate, because over our time, we've had lots of visitors, from Mark Mondesi to Orphy Robinson, Bennett McLean, Simon Purcell, Peter King. James mentioned Dave Holland and Branford. But we also had great classical musicians, Matthew Barley and Marcelo Bradke, who, you know, understand the fundamentals of the fact that it's a music that is inclusive of youth. It's really built on that. And you know, no family can survive without new blood. You need the new blood. You need new births. And so, yeah, I mean, I you know, the whole of NYJC runs that way. The summer program, the program is focused so heavily on young people, and the way that the circle of it comes back and round again, and that people are so enthusiastic about talking about jazz and about the organization, is because they know that it's a safe space. They know that it's somewhere where you can be encouraged. And we encourage all of our students to do the summer school, because, you know, we do a big band in the summer that Alex runs, but generally these cats, they want to be playing with some cats. They want to meet some other young people who can bring it. And so they're always encouraged to go to NYJC. And when they go, 100% they're all inspired, because they meet people from different parts of the country that are bringing it, and it inspires them to bring the best from themselves. So yeah, no, there would be no jazz, no music, no existence without young people.
And they bring so much support of the other young musicians as well. So your whole ethos, they bring it to the summer school, and all the other young musicians really benefit from that. There's such kindness. And I think that's the last thing before we listen to the last video as we sign off, is that you can't improvise if you feel on the back foot. You have to give your trust to that group of people, and you have to watch each other's back. That's what it's all about. And so again, it's a wonderful, safe space to be in. And I'm really, really glad that we've got that relationship with JJJA, because it brings the love and it brings the space, and it supports the young musicians like no other organisation. So from NYJC, huge thank you for everything that you're doing, and long may it continue.
And us to you, always.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Izzy. Yeah, wonderful.
So we're going to sign off with the third video, but before we do that, Nick's going to just remind us who's coming to talk to us next week. Next week we have Omar Puente coming to join us, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. Really looking forward to that one. And the week after we're then on the audition tour, so we'll have a Wednesday break, but next week is 6 p.m. #Nash Youth Jazz Wednesdays. And then also, because we've got lots of things in the pipeline, how do you hear about what we're up to, and how do you get involved? So yes, to keep up
up to date with all NYJC's activities, please head to nationalyouthjazz.co.uk/sign up, where you'll be able to sign up for our bi-monthly newsletter and also receive updates weekly about who's going to be joining us every Wednesday at 6 p.m.
And if you'd like to donate and support us financially, we've just had a bursary meeting today, and we've got a record number of people applying for bursaries because of the COVID situation, with a lot of self-employed people falling through the gaps. So we were really thrilled that we've got the money to be able to support those young musicians. But obviously, then it means our bursary fund is now slightly depleted, and there's more work we'd like to do. So if you want to support NYJC.
So yeah, if you would like to support NYJC in its commitment to making our work accessible to all young musicians, no matter what their background, please visit nationalyouthjazz.co.uk/donate. And there you'll be able to donate to NYJC's 15th birthday fund, where we're trying to raise £15,000 for 15 years of NYJC.
What we're doing there is we're also writing funding applications so that we can match that money. So for every £1 you donate, there'll be another £1 that we'll get from trusts and foundations. And then there's also the gift aid as well. So for £1, is it 25% gift aid?
25% more if you're a UK taxpayer. So just remember to tick that box.
Then it's actually worth £2.25. So away from all of that, the number of packets of crisps I could buy at school for that when I was a gal. So my lovelies, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody. It's been absolutely brilliant conversation. And what really moves me is that we're not signing off to say goodbye. We're all part of the same family, and we're going to be seeing each other. Our paths are crossing over the next few months in many ways. So it's just a gentle adieu. And we're signing off with Trevor's group video. We thought we'd play the whole thing as we play it out. So I wondered, first of all, if I could say thank you to everybody, and then Julian, if you might then introduce this piece as we sign off. So first of all, Jazz, fantastic to see you. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing
thanks,
you again.
Izzy. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you,
Pleasure being
Jazz.
Yes, yes.
Proud of
Alex,
you.
thank you so much for all. Yeah, absolutely proud and excited and thrilled and loving watching and being part of the journey. And Alex, thank you so much for making the time to seeing us. Really lovely to see you, lovey. Looking forward to seeing you at the concert.
Yeah, lovely to see you too. Glad to be here. Thanks, Iz.
And James, I'll see you next Saturday at the premises. This coming Saturday, I think we're going to hook up after one of the audition days. So thank you for that. And thank you for your ongoing work with the Board of Trustees. Honestly, I feel very blessed to be working in such a wonderful environment, and having you as a part of the trustees and the board and the development boards, and as a friend and ally. Thank you so much.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Real pleasure. And Julian, that's all I thank you so much. Thank you so much. I definitely wouldn't be here had we not got the friendship as musicians and pals, but having you around, watching our back, helping us in every way that you can and inspiring us, it gives us real purpose and we feel valid. So thank you so much, my darling. Really appreciate it.
Bless you. I appreciate all that you do, Izzy, your energy and your love for the music and everybody involved, all the young people. I mean, that you can see when you go to NYJC summer school, and the amount of love that is shared with you and that is given to you. It's all very well deserved, and it lights everybody up. It lights all of us up.
It's a real blessing
to know that, So God bless you, Izzy. Long may all of our endeavors continue to produce some of the most wonderful young musicians and one of the greatest environments for dealing with this music and developing this music. So God bless you.
So my darling, might you introduce the video? I'm going to say goodbye. See you next week, everybody. Over to Julian.
I can't even remember what tune this is, so I'm going to go over to James. What tune is it?
It's For Those Who Do.
Oh yeah, of course. Excuse me. Gosh, how ridiculous of me. So this is a composition by the great and unfortunately late Mulgrew Miller, a brother, an inspiration to all of us. I've always said about Mulgrew that if ever a saint walked this earth and I was lucky enough to meet one, it was Mulgrew Miller. He was a supreme human being and a supreme musician and composer. Now, Trevor led this group of his, and Asa, the pianist, really took the lead on recording this, the pianist, and you'll hear how beautifully it's put together, and also just the way all of the guys play as an ensemble, and particularly how Asa plays in the shape and in the mold of Mulgrew, but where his information and his playing is at the moment. So it's quite an inspiring piece of music and an inspiring performance. So we hope you enjoy this performance of Mulgrew Millers, for those who do.